In step 32, we will once again experiment with sum if examples. And this sum if example would give us additional ways of searching for data. So without much delay, let's copy and paste this data. We have the category of fruits and vegetables that we have here, and different kinds of foods that fall into fruits and vegetables categories, and one that does not fall into either of those categories, and the total sales by these food items. And we copy these and we will go to the Excel spreadsheet that I have, that we have been working with. Start a new sheet by pressing this plus sign, and I'd move this sheet to the end and rename this as step 32, and I'm going to paste whatever I copied there into this in A1, and that would give me this kind of a spreadsheet. Now the first question in step 32 is asking us to find out sum of the sales for all foods that fall in the fruits category. So to achieve this, I'm going to go here and I am going to get sorry, the wrong paste. I'm going to copy this from the D2L site and paste it here. Sum of the sales of all foods in the fruits category, and I can type this formula in C10. Anyway, either way it does not matter whether it's B10 or C10, but just so that I have all the numbers in C, that's why the total sales numbers in C, I'm choosing C10 in this example. So once again it is sum if, and what do I need to check for? I have to check for category. So category is in A2 through A7, so A2 through A7, and I have to check for fruits, and I put fruits in quotation marks, and I need to add up the sales, and they are in C2 to C7, and very straightforward based on what you had done in step 31. So it's not there's not much to be explained here, except that we have A2 to A7. We are checking for fruits in the category A2 to A7, A2 to A7, and we are adding up wherever it matches. We are adding up C2 through C7, and the fruits in this case are oranges and apples. When I add them up, 800 plus 1200, I get $2,000. Right? Now the next one is the vegetables category, and the vegetables category, I do the same thing. I can go here and I can basically copy and paste this formula, and I come here, I have the same formula, but I just change the fruits to vegetables. And if you mistype it, if there is a spelling mistake, if it doesn't match, it may not match the vegetables, and you'll get 0 out of that. So for example, if I take out the T there, and it does not match any of these categories, and that's how I get no value returned, or 0 value. If I look at the vegetables, it matches these 3, all of them together add up to $12,000. Now let's do something a little more interesting. What if I want the sale of all foods that end in ES? So for example, tomatoes, which falls in the vegetables category, oranges and apples, all of them end up end with es in their names, and we want to get the sum of all sales for those foods. All right. So the I'll start with this formula for vegetables, and since I do want to match anything that ends with es, I give a wildcard character. The wildcard character is star. So if I put star es, star matches anything before es, whether it's tomatoes or oranges, apples, you name it. If there is any food um, that has um, that matches that ends in es, it would match that. But the only thing I have to change is I have to change this range to b2 to b7, right? So because I'm now looking for foods, not the categories. I'm looking for foods, sale of all foods that end in es. So the foods are in b2 to b7. So I go to b2 to b7. Star es would match anything that has any food name that ends with e and s, and I take the corresponding sales in C2 to C2 to C7 and add them up. In this case, I would add tomatoes, oranges, and apples. 2300 plus 800, 3100. 3100 plus 1200 is 4300. So if this formula is running correctly, I should see 4300 as the result here. All right. So the power of Excel is seen here in this example because of this matching using a wildcard character. The star is the one that matches anything before ES. That's what I need you to remember in this exercise. The last example is sum of all sales, sum of the sales of all foods that have no category. Sometimes we make mistakes in data classification, and some employee who is supposed to have done added a category for this did not put in a category. So for example, butter is without any category in this example, and we want to find out the sum of all sales of items that are without a category. So we have we take this formula and we bring it in here, and since they do not have any category, I would say A2 to A7, leave the second one as an empty string, as a blank, as an empty string, and C2 to C7. So that matches. Since we gave empty string, it doesn't match vegetables or fruits, it only matches this butter, and I should be getting $400. So I hope you got a good foundation in SUMIFs and some of the other formula and graphs and charts thus far. We are now going to move on to a very powerful tool in Excel, and that's the pivot tables. And pivot tables can make your life much easier. They're very easy to manipulate data, to summarize data, to get the data that you want to get, to filter the data, and so on and so forth. We will see that in the next step of this tutorial.